In this video, you'll see an onboard hot lap with some basic references and cues to look out for, and then for those looking to broaden their knowledge even further, I'll take you on a complete track walk where we'll discover all the intricacies and nuances of the circuit and car combination, as well as how to extract the most out of your time on the track. On the screen now are some timestamps for if you want to skip to a different part of the video. They are split by each individual corner of the circuit that I'll cover. So without further ado, let's begin with the onboard hot lap video. So onto the hot lap of Lago Maggiore West Gr.3. We're in the Mercedes Gr.3. Going into turn 1 just after the 100 board, trail braking in, only using the first part of the curb, going out wide, braking into first gear and coasting through the corner. Turn 3 only requires a little lift off the throttle just to dip the nose. Careful of the sausage and be careful of the camber on the way out. Next section, take the line of least resistance, so using the curbs, using all the track available, make it as straight a line as possible. Then we've got the long back straight, just be careful of your gearing. You want to maximise the speed throughout your gearing. Then coming into big Banky Boy, we're looking just before the 50 board. Late apex, stay off the grass and careful on the way out. Start of the curb is where you're going to turn in for these flat out corners, again making the most of the track available. Scrub off as little speed as possible. Then between the 100 board and the 50 board, trail braking in, not touching the grass, not going out too wide, stay off the curb on the outside, then braking, trail braking very carefully and careful on the way out. This final corner's horrible. You're looking at just before the 50 board and taking all the curb available to you, careful on the power on the way out, don't touch the grass and use the track available. So moving on to the circuit walk, the track walk, something to keep in mind, something to note about this circuit is the amount of trail braking that you're going to have to do and the amount of delicacy that you need with your pedal inputs and your steering inputs. So with that in mind, coming into turn 1, there's the meter boards, 150, 100 and 50 board. We're actually going to ignore those and look over to the other side of the track where the pit wall is. The pit wall ends just about here, and then there's an array of tyres. And just at the end of those tyres, so about here, we're going to be braking about here. So at the end of those tyres, where probably the first caravan thing is, where this light post is, might be easy to spot this light post in the dark. So then we're going to be initially fully on the brakes and then easing up off the brakes, turning in early, and then only using this first part of the curb. So using this second part of the curb, the raised part of the curb, will help you to understeer, which is not very good. Then we can run all the way out wide here and then braking in a straight line, and then we're going to be coasting through this turn here, and you can use the yellow curb as well, but the important thing through that turn is to coast, because that will dip the nose and you'll be able to get a better turning speed through the corner. Then being careful on the power on the way out. This turn only requires a slight lift in the throttle, but be careful on the exit because this turn goes downhill from about this point onwards. So we're going to be using the curb but not using the orange sausage because that will understeer, unsettle the car. But then being very careful to not go out wide, because we're being mindful of the fact that the track will start to go downhill even more here. So you want to be aiming for about here, and then the track will naturally push you out wide. This section's very easy. We're just going to be using all the track, all the curbs available to us. So using the curb here, making sure we don't touch the sausage, but using the curb, and again using the curb here, going all the way out wide. Use all the track available to you. Don't scrub off any speed at all. Keep as straight a line as possible. Then coming into what's been dubbed as Big Banky Boy. So we're going to be looking just before the 50 board, there's this flag post here, as it conveniently shines yellow to warn us all of the impending danger. So that's going to be our braking point. And again, trail braking in, we're going to take a late apex because there's a straight coming out of it. This turns banked, so you can see why it's got the name it has. It's probably banked at about 30 degrees almost. That's what you get on ovals. So we're coming for a late apex. We can do a late apex because the car will turn itself because of the banking. So you can get on the late apex, maybe turning in a bit earlier so you don't get swept out. And then we can use the curb. So we can use this curb here. You can even go further in, so you can go onto the orange rumble strips, and even you can see I've got a little bit of a tyre mark where I've cut across the grass. I would stay sort of having this as your apex, so only using the first part of the curb, especially in the race. It ultimately depends what car you're using. If you're using a mid-engine car, I would avoid the orange curb, the orange and white curb, because that'll unsettle the car. In something like the Mercedes, the Lexus, the Jaguar, that's a more stable front engine car. They can handle the orange curb. So maybe in qualifying you could risk it. In the race, for consistency's sake, I would stay off them. And then very careful on the power, because the banking stops. The banking stops and it just goes downhill. So we're going to be pushed out even wider than we're going to be pushed out at turn 3. So making sure not to go wide there. Next turns are flat out. The start of this curb will indicate when you're going to start gradually turning in. Again, we're going to go for a bit of a late apex. You can use this part of the curb, you can even use the grass there. You're going to be about here. Again, cut across the curb, use the curb on exit, and then this section is what took me about half an hour to film. It is so annoying, and even the best struggle with this. So there's the 100 board on the left hand side, sorry, and the 50 board up ahead. It's going to be somewhere in between those 2 points. There's not really a proper braking reference that you can find, so it is just feeling where the grip is with the brake pedal. And this is why I talked about this delicacy on the brake pedal. So you could use the marshal's post as a start and then just go a little bit beyond that. There is a sort of electricity box, I would say that is. It's just a grey box, it's just a grey cube. Then there's this sort of post that sticks out that's on the actual green wall, and that's probably going to be the latest you're going to brake. I believe on the other side of the track there's also a ladder over on the right hand side that you could use. But anyway, we're going to be braking as late as we can for this one because there's no straight after this corner. Trail braking in, we are looking for a bit of a late apex. We're going to be trail braking, very delicate on the power, coasting, use the curb. That's my force feedback rumbles. And then straighten up the car. Don't go on the curb, stay off the curb on the exit, because that, if you're on the curb on the exit, it will push you out wide, it will unsettle the car into the next corner. So the end of this curb, where this sort of grey mini curb starts, grey gutter, whatever it is, that's where you're going to be braking. Again, same delicacy on the brake pedal, and you're going to be coasting, you're going to be off the pedals, using the curb, don't go beyond the curb, and then on the power, again, same story, on the curb but not beyond it, and then into the horrific final corner. Two braking references I've found is the 50 board, just before the 50 board, and then on the left hand side there's the sponsor board, Bullet, the blue Bullet board. When that goes out of view, that'll be when you're braking. And you've got to be very precise with your steering. There's two ways to do this corner. There's taking the first curb only, but this is going to be a little bit slower, but you're going to tend to find this more consistently. In qualifying, you'll want to risk going all the way up, sort of planting the big curb underneath your car in a way. And then especially in these Group 3 cars, you've got to wait so long before you get on the power. You've got to wait so long, probably about here you'll be getting on the power, but it's got to be progressive. Do not touch this grass, because if you touch this grass you're out wide, but you can extend the track out here just beyond the grass, because there is a curb that will save you on the exit. But just be very, very careful on the power coming out of that corner, because it took me about 15 goes to get that right, which is just horrific. That is your Group 3 lap around Lago Maggiore West. If you found this video useful, then make sure to check out our other driving school lap guides. And if you want to become part of the action, don't forget to join the Discord server by visiting the link below.